On Monday, the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis released a series of briefings that Donald Trump had received from the Coronavirus Task Force. These were private briefings that were not made public until this House Select Subcommittee decided to release them on Monday. These are briefings that spanned from June 23rd through August 9th. So these are very recent. They span most of the summer. And they reveal that Donald Trump lied to the public all throughout the summer about how bad the crisis really was. Let's not forget, throughout this entire summer, as we saw our numbers going through the roof, Donald Trump told us, one, this whole thing was just going to disappear probably pretty quickly. Told us that it was totally safe to, send our kids back to school when we needed to send them back to school. And that the only reason we're seeing big numbers is because we're doing big testing. The committee released several reports. And here we are from Common Dreams. They actually put these together with... This is from the press release of the House Coronavirus Subcommittee. They put together the briefing of that day, along with what the president said that particular day to downplay what was happening here in the United States. Here's a few highlights, and this is printed in Common Dreams from the House Subcommittee report. June 23rd, Vice President Pence claimed in an op-ed that the panic over a resurgence of coronavirus infections was overblown. But the White House task force concluded that 7 states were in the red zone, indicating the highest risk of coronavirus spread. July 14th report, Trump stated publicly, no other country tests like us. In fact, I could say it's working too much. It's working too well. We're doing testing and we're finding thousands and thousands of cases. The same day, the task force concluded 19 states were in the red zone and recommended increased testing. July 26th, Trump tweeted, "You will never hear this on the fake news concerning the China virus, but by comparison to most other countries who are suffering greatly, we're doing very well and we have done things that few other countries would have done." July 26th, the task force also said 22 states were in the red zone and stated, quote, "Georgia is experiencing widespread community spread without evidence of improvement. Improvement will require much more aggressive mitigation efforts to change the trajectory of the pandemic in Georgia." Similar thing happened on August 2nd and August 9th. Here's what this means, basically. Every time the president was privately given a report saying, holy crap, things got so much worse, every time that happened, he went out publicly and said, wow, things are so great in this country. Look at this. We're doing great. There's nothing to worry about. Cases are only up because the testing is up. Meanwhile, the task force is in his ears saying, holy crap, dude, you got to increase testing in these areas. We got to send more tests. We need to find out how many people have this because it's spreading like wildfire. Now, here's the kicker to all of this, folks. Do you know what has happened in the last month or so? The federal government has reduced testing. They've done this by cutting off the funding for testing. So there's fewer areas with federally subsidized testing. I know in my area, we actually went from having like 4 or 5 test centers, and we get a population of only like 20,000. There's now 1. You actually have to leave this town to go to a different town to go to that hospital, and they do it because all the other testing centers have been shut down, or they've reduced their hours to only be open for 2 hours per week. And that's why the number of cases in places like Florida has dropped from 10,000 a day to 3,000 a day. Hey, those numbers look great, right? Well, it's not because we're controlling the virus. It's because we're controlling telling people they have the virus by not letting them get tested. And that's happening all over the country. The pandemic has not gone away. It simply has not. We're seeing lower numbers now because we're doing less tests. Trump's own logic there. But the fact is, he has been lying to us throughout the entire summer. And some of the lies that he tells, sure, about how great the economy is, that doesn't really hurt anybody. These lies do. And the House Select Subcommittee was quick to point out that over this time period when Trump was lying to the public about what was really happening, an additional 58,000 Americans died. Trump lied, 58,000 Americans died as a result of it. 4 died in Benghazi, and we had years of investigations and hearings on that. 4 people. But an extra 58,000 dying from Donald Trump's repeated lies to the public. Republicans have no problems with that? Y'all going to keep calling yourselves the pro-life party as you're actually actively letting tens of thousands of people die unnecessarily because you don't want to go against the orange freak in the White House? So pro-life of you, so Christian of you. You'd better hope that this religion that you use to get yourself elected, you better hope it's all fake, because if it's not, I got some real bad news for you about where you will be spending eternity for what you've been doing. Not just throughout your whole careers, but primarily for what you've done just the last 3 months alone. That is a hell-worthy trespass if I've ever seen one.